Owen, and in this tour we're going to be looking at writing and education in ancient Egypt. So let's go ahead and get started.
Welcome to Ancient Egyptian Hieroglyphs.
So as we studied Mesopotamia, scribes in Egypt were the official record keepers. They had numerous jobs of both government and religious importance. And we're going to unpack some of that as we go through this tour here.
Hieroglyphics were used as sacred writing, appearing on monuments, statues, and sacred papyrus texts. The earliest symbols that resemble hieroglyphs were on pottery dating back to 4000 BCE. This stylized form of signs and drawings was the only writing used from its ancient origins to the end of pharaonic history. Ancient Egyptians referred to hieroglyphs as the writing of the gods.
So not only were hieroglyphs important for keeping official records of all the goings-on of ancient Egypt, but they were also held a religious importance connected to their faith of their polytheistic belief in their multiple gods.
Considered a difficult language, it was intended for pharaohs, nobility, and priests, and meant to be used in ceremonies, within tombs, and for government records. Since few Egyptians were able to read the ancient hieroglyphs, the mythological aura around the language was persistent, even in their own culture.
So unlike today, where most people in the US at least are literate, very few people in Egyptian culture could actually understand and read the hieroglyphic language depicted everywhere, as you can see.
The structure of hieroglyphs offers insight into Egyptian culture, not just in what the translations say, but in the structure of the symbols themselves. They were found on tomb walls, on sarcophagi, on statues, and on pottery, and were meticulously recorded in countless ancient papyri.
And scribes were taught this language by the official priests of ancient Egypt, and it would take them many years to learn the very meticulous art of inscribing hieroglyphs upon stone and other tablets.
In many temples, priests would perform rituals and daily offerings. These were accompanied by hieroglyphs used as spells. In tomb paintings, the hieroglyphs are represented with formulas to recite. These spoken words were meant to be spells which would allow the deceased to benefit from the offerings for all eternity. Spells and offerings were also written for the living, to enhance medicines and cure illnesses.
So their religion played a huge part in daily life, from belief of being able to cure the sick to making sure that those that the deceased had a happy afterlife. And hieroglyphs were central to all of that as a way of imparting that religious power onto paper or tomb walls through spells.
The most famous of ancient Egyptian documents is the Book of the Dead. Written in hieroglyphs and hieratic texts, it depicts important spells and rituals. These spells were intended to ensure a smooth transition from life to death and allow the deceased to safely navigate the perils of the afterlife.
Now, once scribes were selected to become a scribe, which in Egyptian society was mostly men, though some women could read and write, they were taken into the temple and taught the art of the hieroglyphs. But there is a second form of writing they were taught called hieratic script, which is more simplified and easy to create form of writing that the Egyptians used as well.
Even after it was deciphered, the reading of hieroglyphs remained difficult at times due to the many directions in which they can be read. Depending on the orientation of the signs, hieroglyphs can be read left to right to left, horizontally or vertically, though never bottom to top.
You can see how just covering every single surface possible these hieroglyphs are, showing their absolute importance to the religious beliefs and practices of Egyptian culture.
A clue on which way to read is to first notice which direction the figurative signs are facing. If a pictogram is looking to the right, then the reader is meant to start from the right and read towards the figure. Column text on a papyrus begins from the right, then goes top to bottom for each column. Text written on tomb walls resembles the structure of a page from a comic book. The text can be placed in front, behind, or above the character, and its symbols look in the same direction as the character. Another clue is that the name of a god or hieroglyphs meaning gods or kings are always written before the descriptive text. Compared to alphabetical languages, Egyptian hieroglyphs have more symbols. Confronted with the absence of vowels, the Egyptians invented a category of signs. When placed at the end of words, these signs help inform its meaning. For instance, a drawing of a lion will refer to a lion and also relate to the abstract concept of a lion as something dangerous or powerful.
And once the scribe finished their training within the temple and was proficient in hieroglyphs and hieratic script, they would go to work for the pharaoh, either helping to administer laws or collecting of taxes or overseeing government projects and keeping the records of all of it. And it's through these meticulous records that we know so much about ancient Egypt and their daily way of life.
Middle Egyptian hieroglyphs contained a little more than 700 signs. By the end of the Greco-Roman period, there were 10,000 signs. Ancient Egyptian languages have many similarities with Asian and African languages. They have evolved in similar ways to the various forms of written Egyptian. These languages belong to the Hamito-Semitic group. There were 5 clear evolutions in the Egyptian language, each with their own distinctive structure. These languages are known as Old Egyptian, Middle Egyptian, Late Egyptian, Demotic, and Coptic. Coptic is the only living language that allows linguists to define the vowel structure and to distinguish different dialects.
So in the 5,000 years of Egyptian culture, from the Old Kingdom all the way up to the Roman times, the language and the writing changed several times. That a lot of it today, you can't really speak ancient Egyptian. It is a lost language of knowing how to say the words properly, as opposed to just being able to read them on walls or on script.
While hieroglyphs and hieratic script give us an idea as to how the ancient Egyptian language was structured and written, the way it was spoken is still up for debate. The team opted for English as the spoken language, with the characters using ancient Egyptian and Greek words and accents. The language that is spoken in the background by the crowds is largely based on Sir Alan Gardner's Egyptian grammar. To help resurrect a dead language, we consulted Egyptologists and dialogue coaches to establish our target sound, and cast actors with Arabic, Hebraic, and African backgrounds to bring the game to life.
And so that's how the creators of this game were able to develop a sort of authentic experience for the players, while not actually able to quite understand how the ancient Egyptians would have sounded speaking their language. Now all this writing you see on the walls here is what's like carved on tombs and palaces. But there were a number of papyrus, which is a type of paper that's made from reeds from the plants from a river that they use for recording information as well, and is put onto scrolls or other type of written documents that some have survived the test of time and exist today for us to help understand further the life of the ancient Egyptians. But it concludes our tour of writing and education in ancient Egypt. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.